Hello and welcome again. Let's have a look at how we can use AWS SDK for Python. In this video, uh, students will be able to describe how to use AWS SDK for Python to perform common operations on the storage service called S3. And hence we would be dealing with a couple of operations on S3 bucket by the end of this session. Let's directly head on to the demonstration now. As you can see, we have this official documentation which we have used for installing the Boto3 library and setting it up on our EC2 that we have launched in our previous video. And we have also seen how we can use this Cloud Shell. Today, let's have a look at the same instance, and we will try to perform a couple of S3 based operations by using the Boto3 package for Python. So let's head on to this AWS Boto3 official documentation, which is again mentioned in the references section. Now you may scroll down on the left side a little bit. Under code examples, you will see that you have something which is related to Amazon S3 examples. Click there and click on Amazon S3 buckets. So you need to install the Boto3 package properly and make sure that it is functioning like what we did in the previous video, and then you can directly head on to this part of the Boto3 documentation. So once you are ready with this one, you may use a couple of these options to directly list down the buckets. So let us go with a simple example. We have listing all the existing buckets for the AWS account. So you need to copy down this entire code where you would be able to create. Okay, so we'll copy this code and I'm going to directly head towards the EC2 dashboard section, open the Cloud Shell, and let me clear this. Once I have cleared this, let me make sure where I am. I am currently inside home Cloud Shell user. Let me make a small directory with a name called S3 test. So I'm going to enter inside S3 test, just making sure that there is nothing inside this one. So as you can see, I am currently inside home Cloud Shell user S3 test. So once we are inside this folder, let us create a new folder. Let us try to edit a file with the name called createbucket.py. Okay, so we are able to access this nano editor. What I'll do is I'll simply copy this part of the code from the documentation and I'm going to paste it directly inside this. Okay, just a small warning, it's asking us to just verify. You may go ahead and trust it. Okay, so just make sure that everything has been created properly. Okay, so now I'm going to save it with the same name called create bucket. Just want to make sure by reading what's written inside that. So I'm using the cat command now just to verify that my file has been properly written. So I have tried executing this command. So this is the content what we have pasted inside this. As you can see, some part of that code has been commented out. You would be able to see better with this highlighted color here under the documentation page. As you can see, this part is completely commented. So basically what we are trying to do is we have created a small method to create a bucket with some name called bucket name, and region is specified to be none. In whichever region it allows us, as very clearly mentioned in the documentation here. That is, if since we are not specifying any sort of a range, you can see like we have we would have the bucket in S3 created by default under US East 1. So we also have other features like bucket name, so it's not defined anywhere. Let us go ahead and check like what exactly it will be doing with the bucket, because usually what happens is whenever we are trying to create some sort of an S3 bucket on AWS S3, it needs to be unique globally. As of now, I don't find any variable where I can mention that. So let's directly go ahead and execute this and check if this works. So what was the name of the code? Create bucket. I have executed this. There are absolutely no errors here. So just to verify that the code has properly created any bucket, we need to head on towards the service called S3 from our AWS console and check if any bucket is created. So that's the only way of verifying that one. Let's wait for a moment and check if any other bucket is created. Okay, we don't have any buckets available US East 2. Let's go to US East 1, North Virginia, because we haven't mentioned any specific region there. So we will try to check if any bucket has been created there. Okay, there is no bucket created over there. So we can go ahead and list down the buckets. So let's try something else with this one. Let's go ahead and simply list down the buckets. So list existing buckets. So I'll copy this part of the code and I'll try to paste it just below the code where we have okay, I think we have lost the instance linkage. Okay, so this is where we are. So inside this, let me paste this part of the code. Asking for a confirmation. So again, I want to verify whether this has been copied down properly or not. Okay, so now if I try to execute this, okay, so at least you can see this part of the code is properly able to retrieve the list of all the buckets that are currently available. So there might be certain tweaks that we may need to perform for the creation of the buckets, because there might, what thing might have happened, I mean, based on my experience, what I can say is it tried to create some sort of a bucket, and since there was nothing mentioned, it just ignored the creation of a bucket, because what we did is here we have a try and we have used an exception. So the moment when S3, this particular script of the code tried to create some sort of a bucket, it was, for example, it was not found unique globally, then probably it might have rejected creation of that bucket, and hence we directly came out. Then what we did is we have copied the new part of a code which is going to simply list down the existing buckets on our S3. And as we have already seen, we do have one bucket with some XYZ name, and we are able to retrieve that just by using Python. Okay, so this is how we can utilize Python's Boto 3 package and a library for performing operations on S3. We may have a look at more complex examples in our upcoming videos. That's all for this demonstration. Here are the references. Thank you.